There is a big theme this summer I am seeing with thought leaders in the spiritual healing space. Everyone's career is changing. Maybe you've even seen it too. People are moving from one niche of teaching to another, dropping their previous teachings altogether, or closing down their business. And to be honest, at first, I was a little shocked until it started happening to me. So let me explain what I've seen. I think a lot of us in the spiritual healing space went through some pretty big awakenings in the last 5 years. COVID era being the door that flung that wide open. We started to see the world through a very different lens than the one we had been viewing through for a long time. And this was because our lives were tied to the very outdated systems, beliefs, and behaviors that stemmed from our nuclear families and the world that we grew up in, our environments. Something otherworldly was happening through us in this newfound awareness and this awakening, and we could not keep the status quo or the old way going any longer. As we entered this era, we found new spiritual values, modalities, tools, and beliefs that brought us more home within and helped us find communities of people who shared these same new discoveries of the self. So, what we had in common now was something very beautiful: spiritual evolution. Throughout the last 5 years, mass amounts of people went head on into the healing space, but many of us also brought our unconscious trauma with us, as we do. We catapulted ourselves into the higher realms of spirituality through the crown of consciousness, and then we stayed there. Because one, it was better than the systems crumbling beneath us on earth. Two, it was lighter, brighter, and more awe inspiring. Three, it was a healthier way to function through life in some ways than what we had previously experienced. And four, our trauma showed us that our human experiences weren't safe, so we swung in a totally opposite direction. Now, what I believe is happening is that this group of us have neared the end of this spiritually hyper focused era, and we're coming back down to earth, literally. We've gone down the different spiritual pathways that have been widely taught in the last 5 years. Things like duality, consciousness, manifestation, feminine embodiment. The list could go on. And instead of writing off spirituality as a whole, which many people will do at this point on their spiritual journey, we've decided to shift the pathway just enough where we keep the knowledge of the foundational teachings that served us so much, and we're now ready to integrate that into our human work. So it's not that spirituality as a whole doesn't work for you anymore. It's that there's just another way for you to experience spirituality. Ultimately, I've found for myself that the human experience is the spiritual experience. And this is why we're starting to see spiritual teachers put down so much of the woo woo, stop building their entire identity on it, and start integrating things like body work, somatic experiencing, movement and dance therapy, art therapy, and other trauma based modalities into their work. Because this mass group of us are no longer wanting to leave our bodies to experience joy and peace. We want to find it within the human experience. And we know that we need to explore the stories we've created out of the experiences we've had and find our true authentic selves in that. This is not just coming from an inner desire. It's coming from the years of inner work we have done. The individual awakenings are now becoming collective, and I believe you'll start to see this more and more over the next few years. The bigger the social impact someone had, the longer it may take them to let the old identity crumble over time and birth a new one in its place. This isn't something happening overnight for many of us, and this also isn't saying that people have been building false communities based off of false narratives. This is the real, tangible, and vulnerable experience of being a human and evolving with an audience. This is why I say, please do not put healers on pedestals, because what you once may resonate with may not be the same message a few years later. And that doesn't mean there's anything false or wrong about them or about you. You're both simply going in different directions. It's your own free will and choice if you choose to go along that same journey or not. And judging others' journeys is not anyone's place because we simply do not know the inner workings of everyone's world. So prepare yourself for this next wave of awakening happening. Prepare to see people going in directions you would have never thought they'd go. Prepare to be challenged by your own belief system and be open to seeing new ones appear. Prepare to let people or systems go if you don't resonate with them. Prepare to be tempted to go back into old patterns and be willing to move through your life with your heart more and more and more. Your body is the key to unlocking your next spiritual awakening. For myself, this calling started back in December of 2024. I heard leave Instagram, change the podcast, shift the way you do FCTs, and stop doing intuitive readings. But I did not trust these inner callings or these feelings. I was too scared to listen. And it took a 4-hour EMDR session while microdosing psilocybin where I finally realized the power of my own inner voice and what it was trying to help me with. It was literally saying, change is coming. You have the opportunity to continue evolving with the times. Will you choose this next path? I have spent the summer of 2025 not traveling the world, not going out and socializing, not living, laughing, and loving as the summer energy would have us believe is a successful summer. I have been in deep transition, moving through life altering awakenings of the self, processing so much unconscious and unprocessed trauma through 3 different EMDR and psilocybin intensives, which are 4 to 5 hours long. I'm resting, reading, walking in nature, keeping my phone off or on silent, and no longer giving my energy away as easily. My values and the way I use my energy has been changing so much. And it's now at the end of this summer season that I finally feel myself slowly coming out of it as I prepare for some other big life changes happening soon. Summer 2025 has been the summer of coming home to myself. So I listened to my inner voice. I left Instagram. I took off intuitive readings from my offerings. I'm shifting the way I facilitate family constellation therapy sessions. And I'm changing the podcast a lot in the coming months. In doing so, aka listening to my inner voice, while doing all of this deep rooted trauma therapy, I've made so much space for healing, clarity, truths, desires, new visions and dreams, and pathways opening up to me, honestly, that I've never even thought of before. I want to add as well that this isn't just happening in a spiritual space, it's happening all over. However, I've been really intrigued by how it's happening in my own industry. So I'm curious, are you noticing this for yourself or others around you? Who's changing with the times and whose diversion shocked you the most? Let me know. With love always, Kat.